Patriots? Welcome back to the Patriots of the American Republic. Today we've got two special guests joining us. We've got Osiris from Middle Maga and Ray from Ray Infinity Studios. How you guys doing today, guys?
Great. Let's go. It's like we're getting the gang back together, man.
That's right.
Yeah. Feels good. Feels good.
When's the last time the three of us did a show? Was that my 100th episode?
I think it was.
Wow.
So about a couple weeks, it'll be a year, actually.
I think it was.
So,
well,
yeah.
I'm glad you're here with us today. So let's go ahead and jump into it, right? Listen, guys, on the 15th of this month, we celebrated the birthday of a great man, right? A man who established a legacy by judging people by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. You know, I grew up in a time where his legacy had already been established and his dream was being lived out, right? And Osiris, you and I have talked about this in previous times, during the times that we grew up in, because we're both similar in age. You know, the stuff that we're seeing today, we didn't see, we didn't experience. There may have been pockets, isolated incidents or whatever, but on a national scale, there wasn't. I looked at, like I do right now, I look at Osiris as a brother, and I'm sure he does the same for me. But unfortunately, this man's legacy is being ruined and tarnished by the same people who actually celebrate him. You know, it's kind of like a self-identifying vegan who likes to eat meat on the weekends, right? You're not a vegan if that's the case, right? So if you pretend to say that you are against racism and discrimination while at the same time practicing racism and discrimination, then you are not upholding the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King the way that you claim to be, right? So how can we celebrate the legacy while calling and promoting things that contradict and go in the opposite direction? You know, I think that it's really interesting, but just like the Bible has an antichrist figure and there's 4 horsemen of the apocalypse that we get to see in the book of Revelation, today's subject matter, we're going to take a look at our anti-American antichrist, if you will, and then the 4 horsemen that have really been the key players of this anti-American movement that we're experiencing now in today's society. Let's start with Ray. Ray, what are your thoughts currently?
On which subject again?
And specifically how people are, number one, the rise of racism. You're coming from a newer generation, so I kind of want to get your perspective first. You're kind of living in this moment where everything is so, there's so much racial tension, and we seem to be so divided amongst racial lines in this country. I want to get your perspective first.
Well, it's a little complicated because, like, growing up, I was actually fully blue-pilled into this stuff. Like, I was fully believed in the victim mentality, all this kind of stuff. I fully admit that. But like I said, it's like as things started going along, progressing even further, you start realizing that there's a whole lot of cracks in these this agenda that they're pushing about victim mentality, how they're basically trying to make white people seem like they're evil. And it's a little weird because I'm half white, half black, so. Even though it's like I grew up at a time where if you're black, you're black. You didn't really mention if you're part of anything else. Me, I'm at the point now where like I mention both sides because I'm half. So you can't mention just one. Like there was a time in this country where if anyone, this is back in like the 50s or even beforehand, or if like a white person had any black in them, they were fully considered black. They were not considered white to be at all. And like in a lot of ways, it's still true today. A lot of white people that have black in them are fully considered black, and a lot of black people that have white in them, they're fully considered black, and they're not even pretty much allowed to mention their white heritage. So, like wherever this started, and I don't know the full details on it of when it very first started, where the roots come from, but what it's trying to do is it's trying to make people seem make black people seem like they're victims and try to get them more onto their side, because we live in a culture today where it's just about victim mentality. No matter how you want to see it, like if you're a victim, then you're automatically in the club. If you are an oppressor, and oppressor can mean many different things today. I'm not even sure really how they define it anymore. You're considered against us. So.
Gotcha. Well, you know, one thing that you said there, I think, and Osiris, you can probably attest to this, but you know, growing up in the times that we did, growing up in hip hop and stuff like that, if you were white, you were just not cool. So that's why you didn't want to associate with being white, and you were more than likely made fun of. I mean, we could show clip after clip of like In Living Color making fun of white people and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the times are better though, man. I think we were just more honest with each other. It was making fun, but I don't think it was in a toxic way, as at least compared to where we are now. Like what we have now is Mayor Michelle Wu in Boston. She recently, this past holiday, said, we're going to have a holiday party. Oh, it's cool. Like, okay, yeah, what are you going to bring? What are we going to do? The only thing is it was only for people of color. And she tried to back out of it. And this kind of stuff is normal. You see, that's not just a one-off thing. There's examples all over the place. We talked about that school district, and there was that union in Minnesota that said, you know, if we have to lay off people, what we are going to do to make sure the teachers look like the students, at least skin color-wise, we'll lay off white people first. And so we're talking about financial now. It's not even just like ha-ha jokes anymore, man. It's like financial stuff, work stuff, just blatantly out in the open. I don't know why they even pretend to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr., to be honest with you.
Absolutely correct. And it's absolutely shocking that they do that, right? They celebrate it. They honor the man's legacy, what he stood for, but then they practice the opposite. And they find a way to justify it. Now, in my view, and we've shared it before, this has been there in society, but it was always on the fringe. You know, you always had those few nut jobs, you know, like the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons, that we knew they were race baiters, but it wasn't mainstream. Corporate America was not geared in this direction when we were growing up. Academia was not geared in this direction, right? Hollywood was not geared in this scenario, but everything seemed to spill over after Obama was in office. And I do want to start to play some of the clips of there's a multitude. When I was doing research for this video, I saw so many things that he said that were just racially motivated, and it was more than what I had thought that he had said. So let's go ahead and get into the first video.
The legacy of slavery, Jim Crow, discrimination in almost every institution of our lives, you know, that casts a long shadow. And that's still part of our DNA. That's passed on. We're not cured of it. Racism. We are not cured of.
Clearly.
And it's not just a matter of it not being polite to say in public. That's not the measure of whether racism still exists or not. It's not just a matter of overt discrimination. Societies don't overnight completely erase everything that happened 200 to 300 years prior.
So I'm sorry, Ray, you were saying?
What I was saying was everything he mentioned there is is the Democrats. Literally, he mentioned everything because the Democrats were behind Jim Crow. They were behind slavery. They were behind the KKK, all of that kind of stuff. The N-word, all of that, even though I don't really care about the N-word really, but still, nonetheless. Like they literally just mentioned racism too. That's literally everything the Democrats were behind for. But he's part of the party that was all for that. You see how hypocritical that is?
Absolutely. Osiris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Obama used to be slick. I mean, I was just like you, Ray. I was more of an identitarian, more of a defaulted Democrat, I guess you could say. But even though I grew up listening to people like Rush Limbaugh, I was always kind of independent, but I was more like blue-pilled. And I voted for Obama twice. And you can just see through now that I've kind of crossed that Rubicon, I just see through it. He's just phony, he's just fake. And I agree with you completely, Ray. And it's just like, I can't even absorb his comments because it's just all fake and phony.
So did you notice how he said racism is in our DNA? So we're prone to be racist. If it's in our DNA, number one, it's full of baloney in my opinion. But if it is it curable? Because whatever's in your DNA is in your DNA. But I was always brought up to think and believe that that's not something that is inherent within us. When you look at children that play together of different races, they play together with no problem, right? It's the adults that seem to have the issues when there are cases of racism, which to me tells me it's a learned trait. So for him to state that it's in our DNA, number one, he's factually wrong. And number two, it really does set up a bad precedence, because what happens is racism exclusive to the United States?
No.
Of course not.
Go to China.
It's a...
Carlo, yeah.
Go ahead, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Look at China, but it's almost like Carlos. He wants to implant it in every person. He wants it there, so it's something that it's almost like a life force. If that idea of racism is in every person, then people like Obama will have a better chance at keeping power, amassing power, being able to control people. If people don't look at themselves as victims and think about it in that lens, it hurts him and his power. So it's almost like he needs it to be, and he needs to implant it into everybody.
Absolutely, and it goes to what Ray just said, right? Their party was the one who was behind all of this, right? All of these negative things, yet their portrayal of it is that the Republicans were the ones and are currently still the problem, and you need to vote for them because you don't want to vote for the racist Republicans. So it's a ploy in order for them to keep that political power. Ray, what are your thoughts?
I was just going to mention, like, Osiris, remember that video you did, like, about a week or so ago about that black CNN reporter basically crying on air because he mentioned Vivek or Trump or something like that? And he mentioned, like, how it almost seems like it's genetic, like, black people are almost becoming more victimhood. Like, you were pretty much mentioning that. So I was saying, like, so if he's saying that racism is like DNA, is in your DNA, then wouldn't this black victimhood almost be genetic itself? Like they're just it's like they don't even have a say in it then. So they're just like in their own minds oppressed, and there's nothing you could do about it, even though they're actually not oppressed. It's just in their heads and in their DNA.
Yeah, I think if here's the interesting part, right? You guys are not allowed, including myself. I'm going to include myself because as a Hispanic, I'm also a minority. We're not supposed to think outside on our own because the minute we step out of that area that they want us, now we become traitors to their cause, right? You guys aren't black and I'm not Hispanic, right? We're all three of us were white supremacists, according to the left.
Yeah. I really. Now that you just mentioned that, I really wish I wore my niggas for Trump shirt during this video. So
leave that out. You this guy. Let's get into it.
Don't leave it out. Don't leave it out. Don't leave it out.
That'll be in the after show. But no, I agree with Ray. I agree completely with Ray, and it shows. And Carlos, you're right. All of us would be considered. Really, what it goes is all of us would be considered victims of white supremacy. And then they just shorthand it to basically we're all white. And it shows you the power. If you instill that racism into people, then it automatically discredits us. You don't have to listen to anything we say. Oh, they're all victims of white supremacy. So everything we say is kind of, discarded to the side.
Absolutely. Let's get into our next video, which is Michelle Obama also implanting the racist card into whatever it is that they're trying to do.
Yes.
I don't think we've seen that. But what we've learned over this year is that hope is making a comeback. It is making a comeback, and let me tell you something. For the first time in my adult lifetime, I'm really proud of my country. And not just because Barack has done well, but because I think people are hungry for change. And I have been desperate to see our country moving in that direction and just not feeling so alone in my frustration and disappointment. I've seen people who are hungry to be unified around some basic common issues, and it's made me proud. And I feel privileged to be a part of even witnessing this, traveling around states all over this country and being reminded that there is more that unites us than divides us, that the struggles of a farmer in Iowa are no different than what's happening on the south side of Chicago, that people are feeling the same pain and wanting the same things for their...
Wow.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, that sounds like it came from a different universe. Talking about trying to reach out to farmers, and Obama won Iowa, I believe.
Yes,
back
he did
then.
twice.
Can you believe that? That's a different dimension, man. I think we went into some type of time warp and we didn't know it. It doesn't even feel like the same, not the same Earth, not the same U.S. It doesn't seem like the same universe. Am I hearing something wrong? She was talking about Iowa, kind of relating farmer from Iowa to the south side of Chicago, they don't even try to do that stuff. She used the word privilege. She didn't mean it like how we use it now, but she would never use the word privilege now. And like, I'm grateful. She almost used it as in I'm grateful. They don't talk about being grateful for anything nowadays. And then the speech, back then the politicians were so buttoned up that her delivery was it was different. It sounded authentic. And now they were good actors. Man, they were really good actors.
So that's the interesting part is you're right, and I've expressed that myself. I feel like I'm in a twilight zone in comparison to where we were before. What got me here was, number one, her statement of, this is the first time I'm proud to be an American. And it was because her husband was doing well, right? I mean, if that's what it took for you to be proud to be an American, I mean, that's shocking to me. And I'm disconnected because I've always been proud to be an American because this is my country. It's the country that I was born in. It's the country that my parents fled to escape poverty, to escape communism. Why wouldn't I be proud of my country? Does that mean that our country's perfect? No, no country's perfect. Does that mean my country had a clean past? No country has had a clean past. But I don't look at that because I look at where we are at now. And so that was a huge disconnect. And to your point, she was polished, she was buttoned up. But if you look at how things have progressed, she was talking about change. We got a lot of change. Unfortunately, change could be in either direction. It could be change for the better or change for the worse. And when we look at it now and we look back, it was definitely change for the worse. And they honestly, they came through with what they promised. Change. Ray.
He, I should say. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say she with that. I can't. I'm sorry. But what he was referring to was like, basically like, it's like everyone has problems and we all can relate to each other. Like he just mentioned farmers here in Iowa struggling versus some people on the south side of Chicago struggling. Like, those were issues that we can agree on, that we can work forward to create a better path. But what we come to now is like, hey, like a farmer in Iowa a farmer, not just in Iowa, but a farmer in general, is just an idiot. He just doesn't know what he's doing. All he does is just pick plants and then just sends them off to the rest of us. And like someone in Chicago, they're just doing it because it's gun violence and we need to ban guns. That's literally what we've come to, like right here now. Like today, it's like we can't even relate to anybody anymore. We can't unless you're just purely a victim. And what is a victim? In their opinions, it's a minority. That's the way I'm looking at it right here.
Yeah, and the interesting part is that if you look at their tactic at this point, they're all deplorables, right? And the fact that if you look at what Trump did in Iowa, they're all a bunch of white supremacists now, and that's why Trump won a massive landslide there. So the rhetoric changes because it's no longer favoring to them, and they have to demonize the other party and the voters in order for them to maintain whatever party they have.
They were such great marketers. They were just great at, they were just great at marketing. The hope and change, very general, very vague ideas. Everybody always wants hope, no matter what the case is. Everybody always wants change, no matter how good things are. And on top of that feel-good style, great marketing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get into our next video. This is the guy who, I guess, lit the fuse in an obvious manner, and I detest the guy. I detest him because of the level of disrespect, the privilege that this individual has had in our country, the fame, the fortune, and for this person to take the posture that he did back, I think it was in 2016, it makes me vomit, And then when he presented himself in front of a press corps wearing a supposedly Malcolm X shirt, but Malcolm X is standing next to Fidel Castro, and he's talking about how he's standing up against oppression. It's really mind-boggling because if you know anything about the Castros, they oppressed their own people, they oppressed gays, they oppressed black Cubans, etc., etc. So it literally made no sense. But let's go ahead and get into our next video.
I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed. When there's significant change and I feel like that flag represents what it's supposed to represent, I'll stand. Cops are getting paid leave for killing people. That's not right. I'm seeing things happen to people that don't have a voice, people that don't have a platform to talk and have their voices heard and affect change. So I'm in a position where I can do that, and I'm going to do that for people that can't. I know what I'm doing what's right, and I know other people see what I'm doing is right. It's something that we have to come together, we have to unite, we have to unify and make a change.
What are your thoughts after seeing that?
That was part of the big transition away from MLK. That whole thing, and the way they did it was saying, "Hey, there was all this, people. All these people who are black people being killed by police." And you look at the statistics, there's no proof of any type of large scale killing of black people from police, but it sounds good, especially if you're young and you're not looking into this type of stuff. And then they took that and then they went into the Black Lives Matter after 2020. So that was the momentum leading up into the Black Lives Matter movement that really came on hard and strong and took it to an elevated racial place. And now the NFL, this Super Bowl, they're going to have the Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is the Black national anthem. They did last year too. They did it last year as well too. It's a beautiful song. I love the song, but every Martin Luther King Jr. Day, my parents would take, my mom actually would take our kids, me and my brothers, to a library in Cleveland, and we would go and we would listen to they would talk about Martin Luther King Jr. And it was I think it was more of that positive black type of movement, and they would sing the song. That's how I knew the song. I would, at least once a year, I would hear it and everybody would sing it. It was good vibes. Nobody was on any hate white people. You never heard anything. Never heard white privilege or, all this white versus black type stuff. It was all positive black stuff. And then now it's being used as, let's separate from the country. It was never that back when I was growing up, even the positive black stuff. It wasn't, black people need to kind of separate from the national anthem. That's why we're singing it. Nope. And now it's a whole different light that they're painting it in. It's separating from the flag, separating from the country, separating from the Constitution and everything.
Yeah, and the best image of, what I was going to say was, and the best thing about that national anthem that was spoke last year, there was a photo of Carrie Lake taken where she was sitting when they were playing that.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
So here, very similar to when you expressed about the pride flag, you had said, the American flag represents everybody. It represents gay, straight, black, white, everything, whatever. The gay flag doesn't represent everybody in our country. So why would we have it in government institutions and so on and so forth? And it's the same type of scenario. I'm sure it is a beautiful song, but it's not our national anthem. It does not represent, I'm not black, right? The black community wouldn't accept me as black no matter what I identify as, right? So it doesn't represent me. But furthermore, can I get a Hispanic national anthem then? Can we get an Asian national anthem then? Can we get an Indian or a Native American? You see where I'm going?
Middle Eastern.
Right, correct. Middle Eastern. All it's doing is creating more divide, which is, again, the opposite of what MLK's message was about. Ray, go ahead.
What I was going to be saying was actually the actual national anthem, the real one, what it actually represents is just America and America itself. It doesn't represent anyone. It's just the idea of what America is, which is freedom, which is the ability to raise your kids, the ability to have a life, ability to do all this kind of stuff. It does not represent one kind of people or any kind of people. It just represents freedom and patriotic stuff.
And if I could, I agree. And these type of things piss me off because of the hypocrisy. And I know it kind of gets tiresome to say, they're hypocrites. But look at this. They kneeled for the national anthem, and it was over black stuff. Then Black Lives Matter came, literally in the slogan, Black Lives Matter. I believe C.J. Stroud is, Ray, is he black? Is he half and half?
No, I think he's full black. It could be, well, he looks, I mean, he doesn't look full black, but I mean, he could be mixed with something. I don't know, but continue.
Yeah, so he doesn't have white colored skin, so he's something brown or black. I don't know if you heard this.
Well aware of it.
After he beat my Cleveland Browns, he said, first and foremost, I just want to give all glory and praise to my Lord Jesus Christ. And it was omitted in the version that NBC put on social media. They took out that part. That was a very common thing you've heard growing up with. It was very common for football players to say that. They edited that out. And where are the people saying, wait a second, we have a black or we have a person of color who, no matter what his religion is, he didn't disrespect anybody. He just gave thanks to his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and you edited that out. Nobody kneels for him. Nobody says anything. It's all shh. It shows you it's nothing but a front. Black Lives Matter, and even going back to Kaepernick, it's a front for supporting the Democratic Party machine. That's
absolutely. And Black Lives
because Jesus.
Go ahead, Ray.
Go ahead. Because Jesus does not make anyone look like a victim. Because what Jesus represents is is just like I forgot the exact word I was going to say, but it makes us seem like we have something we can look forward to, something we can worship, and they don't want that. What they want people to worship is themselves. That's really what this comes down to. Like even this LGBT gay pride thing. That's what they want people to worship is themselves because they makes you feel better. That's really what this boils down to.
The left, bottom line is that the left hates Christ. They're anti-Christian, right? They're anti-Christ. And that's why you have that. So it doesn't matter what your color skin is, no matter how bad of a minority you are, the minute you say Jesus Christ, oh, we got to cut you out. You're no longer part of our little inner circle, right? But here's the interesting part, and Osiris, you alluded to this in a prior statement that you just made about black on black crime, which is very evident. It's very prominent, right? I think many people have expressed the statistics, how black people are 13% of the population in this country, yet they constitute for 50% of the homicide and so on and so forth. So, the false narrative that's being constantly echoed by the left is what gains that momentum. It's what gave rise to BLM. And actually, their foundation started in 2014 when Obama was still president. And obviously, it just took off after that with Kaepernick. And then, with George Floyd and the whole event that took place after that, it just culminated there. And now we have this full-on, racial monster in this country that is out of control, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and get into the next video, and we'll get to the next next horseman, which is the second horseman of the anti-American movement. And that is none other than LeBron James.
Me standing for the national anthem is something I will do. That's who I am. That's what I believe in. But that doesn't mean I don't respect and don't agree with what Colin Kaepernick is doing. You have the right to voice your opinion, stand for your opinion, because I'm not up here saying that all police are bad, because they're not. I'm not up here saying that all kids are great and all adults are great, because they're not. But at the same time, all lives do matter. And it's not just about, it's not black or white. It's not that. It's everyone's.
Yeah, I don't think at that point in time I wasn't fully educated. Strengthening the mind, reading, listening. So
you're holding the autobiography of Malcolm X along with Alex Haley. I don't know how far you are into the book, but what's your biggest takeaway so far?
I kind of just started a couple days ago.
but I've read and a lot of notes over the years. It's my first time actually reading this from start to finish. I speak from a very educated mind, so I'm kind of the wrong guy to actually go at because I do my homework. But just a very smart man. Very, very, very smart man.
Here he is, just laying it all out for us. F this man. We demand change. Sick of it. I think he speaks, again, for a whole lot of people with that. But it does take some courage.
Is there any regret that you got into a name-calling situation with the president?
No. A name calling. What'd I say? Let me
him
hear you say it.
Called him a bum.
It's not a name call. It's no, you bum. Me and my friends call each other that all the time. I'm not his friend though. I don't want to see that on the note. He's not my friend.
I'm being serious. If someone tried to recruit a LeBron to run for president, they said, listen, they've got no one. If you don't run, Trump's going to win. Would you run?
Well, in that case, I may. Yeah, if they have no one, yeah. I believe there's some people out there.
We have to get out and make sure we vote. We have to get out and be knowledgeable about what's going on, about what we see that our future entails, and this woman right here has the brightest future for our world.
You know that that part where he was like, he understands Colin Kaepernick, but he just wouldn't do it. He would stand. If that happened today, he would be considered MAGA.
Yep. Yeah, so let's put a little bit of context, right? The first video of him walking into, I think it's his son's college game, happened just a couple of weeks ago, maybe about a month or less than 2 months ago. And then the next video of him having that discussion about him always standing for the anthem, that's happening in around 2016, 2017. And then obviously he got I'm just going to put it out there. I'm just going to say it. He got whipped by his masters who are up above and say, hey, you just stepped out of line. You better make sure that you take a knee, and you better make sure that you join on the club that Black Lives Matter, and don't say anything otherwise, because if not, you're out of here, right? And so that's what we ended up with, him actually taking a knee and doing the whole Black Lives Matter movement. He stepped in line. He stepped back in line because his overseers told him to. What do you guys think?
I think there's an opportunity cost. There's a decision. Whether it's not even just LeBron James. You can use X as an example. Right now, X is monetized, YouTube as well. You can make a decision. Do I do what I know I should do to try, and nothing's guaranteed, but to try to maximize my revenue? So he had the contract with Nike. He had huge money with Nike. What? The biggest ever, right? I mean, that's how he got to be a billionaire, a lot of it.
Lifetime contract.
Lifetime contract with Nike. So let's look at that. On this, you can take 2 forks in the road. 1 fork in the road, you can become a billionaire. All you have to do is change your take on the national anthem, pretend to be black. You know what all the black people want. You can pretend and just go into that. I don't believe he authentically believes any of this. He was more authentic back then, I think, when he was saying, hey, you can do your choice. I would choose to do different. So you choose that path and you become a billionaire. The other path, you could get run out of the NBA. It doesn't matter if you're a star or not. You could lose the Nike contract. They could dig up dirt on you. Everybody has dirt. They start looking in the files and saying, oh, you did this in high school. Oh, you did this then here. Boom. What happened to LeBron James? Where is he? So you have 2 paths to take. And I think that's the impression. I don't know for sure, but my impression is he chose to take that path. Jamel Hill as well. Jamel Hill took a certain path. Because if she didn't take that path, like Ray said, it's either you take that path or you're MAGA. But what if you're not really MAGA and you don't want to take that path? You're more like a Tiffany Cross who her contract didn't get renewed or whatever, fell out from NBC. She's beautiful, talented. I don't agree with her on everything. But if I had a network, she had some of the best ratings on NBC. And she just came out and said, and I'm going to kick it back to you, Carlos. She just came out on her podcast and said, I didn't want to talk against Trump all the time. She's not a Trump supporter. But the producers kept saying, you got to go anti-Trump. She's like, I want to talk about like jobs and other stuff. And then that's what caused the beef. And boom, she's out of there. And now she's making way less money probably now than she would if she just played the game.
But she's happier now, probably. because she can at least speak the truth.
Well, for me, it's about integrity, right? I can't be phony, and you pay me to say something that that goes against my core values, my core beliefs, who I am. You're phony. You're phony, and you're just sold out by money, right? And so I have very little respect for people like that. Let's get into the third horseman, which goes right along the same way that we just the two individuals that we just looked at.
U.S. soccer star Megan Rapinoe decided to take a knee during the national anthem last night in a friendly match against Thailand. And she is just the latest athlete to follow the lead of NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick, protesting racial inequality and what they say is outright police brutality occurring in this country. But this is the first time that an athlete knelt while representing America in uniform. Kirsten Hagelin, Kelly Riddell, and NFL free agent Will Allen join us now. Will, let me start with you. This all began with Colin Kaepernick in the NFL, and it's spreading not just to other sports, but to high schoolers, junior high schoolers, even elected representatives. Where do you think it goes from here?
It's obviously an issue. If more athletes are speaking out and more representatives and even high school students are speaking out or taking a stance, is necessary. You're seeing lives being taken away, and whether you're American or patriotic or whatever it is whatever your beliefs are, you have to feel some type of way when you see lives just being taken away.
Yeah, but you know what people are going to say, Will? I mean, if it's all about lives, or in this case, black lives, and where are these athletes over the weekend in Chicago, over the weekend in New Orleans, over the weekend in Trenton, New Jersey? If you care about lives, where are they then? And by the way, why pick the most cherished thing, the national anthem, that people will spill blood for over the centuries? Isn't there another, better, smarter way to protest all of this?
Absolutely. There are smarter ways, and you don't necessarily have to protest. You can go into the communities as an athlete and educate and influence and empower the young people and the police officers, because as an athlete, we have power, we have that influence, and we can use our voice and use that jersey that we wear to have a different platform and express our frustration in a different way. But today, Colin Kaepernick decided to get on a knee, and protest against the American, what we believe as Americans.
All right, Kelly. A lot of people are arguing that it's right, but a lot of people obviously very much offended, and ultimately you have to wonder what will be resolved. Will his concerns actually be addressed? Because I don't think that's even getting any attention.
Well, with what happened last night specifically, with Megan wearing a U.S. jersey representing the U.S. national team, she stood for Thailand's national anthem, and then she took a knee for the U.S. national anthem. You know what? Since 2014, the military coup that's happened in Thailand, there is no freedom of expression. If you gather in a small group, you can be put in jail. Citizens are tried in military courts. 60,000 children, Thai children, are put into the commercial sex trade business. This is a country that Human Rights Watch has an eye on, and that are human rights offenders in every sense of the regard. So to stand for their national anthem and to take a knee for the U.S. national anthem, I mean, that is ultimate hypocrisy, and it's only because it's fashionable and it's in vogue.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's something that I don't think a lot of people are even realizing or even want to pay attention to. They mentioned that how black people are a minority in this country. And guess what? Black people are going to be becoming even much more of a minority in this country. Because here's why. But in the next 10 or 20 years, by 2040, Hispanics will become the majority in this country. White people will no longer be. Hispanics will be. They will have more than 50%. And here's what will happen. The black population will drop so much. It's at I believe 14%. I believe it is. But it would be higher if we stopped killing each other. We had less of us in prison. We by far have the most abortions per capita. Because of all of that, and because of how much immigration that's happening right now, the black population will drop so much, and it will get to a point where you could have 100% of the black population votes a certain way, and it will not have any effect of any kind on the elections. I talked about this with Sal and Ed, and they both completely agree with me. Because at this point right now, if 2 or 3% of black population switched to vote for Trump, we would win pretty much every election. But they're still buying into this propaganda they are right now.
Yeah, and Osiris, you and I have touched on it before. I don't understand why Black America votes Democrat, because to Ray's point, you guys are already a third minority. Excuse me, Hispanics already outnumber, and so with the influx of both legal and illegal immigration, your numbers are dwindling down. Right. And so if you are a Black person in America and you're trying to get the government to handle your needs or to address your needs, situation that's going on in your community, here comes the Hispanic people who are outnumbering. And so these Democratic voters that are paying attention to the numbers, they go, oh, let me tackle these people first. Right. Because they're higher numbered, which means higher voting percentages and so on and so forth. So the more illegal immigration comes in, specifically from the Hispanic community, the less power the Black community has, which is it's a paradox in my opinion, or in my view. What do you think, Osiris?
There's a lot to that. It is the heart of all the problems in our country. None of this could happen without Black people. I talk about Black women specifically. 94% about voted for Joe Biden in 2020. 94% of Black women, about 89% of Black men. You can barely get consensus to say people like pizza at 94%, much less politics. That's organic. There is a deep psychological problem with Black Americans. That's why my parents are Jamaican, so I have a different perspective. They always talk about, well, your parents are Jamaican, that's why you have beef. Africans do as well too at times. I'm just generally speaking. And it's because there's something unique to Black Americans where this isn't a joke. I don't think Black Americans have left the plantation mentally. Democrats are still their masters mentally, not with chains. So they don't risk going against that party very often, because then you get called a sellout and all these things, and you have to have a thick skin to be able to withstand all of that. And I think the Democrats, it's going to be hard to break that. I don't know how you break a psychological bond that's strong. And, for example, they don't look at the mistake of Biden and talk about it openly. You hear sometimes Charlemagne the Gods talked about it a little bit, but that's a Black man. You see more Black men, Black women don't. And I don't know how you break that. So I just think it's fine. You believe what you believe, but I don't associate with it.
Yeah, like what do you think about the Black population going to be dropping significantly over the next 10 to 20 years with how much immigration that's happening?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, I did a clip where I put Dr. Claude Anderson next to Tucker Carlson, and they were both talking about it. There are certain people within that Black sphere that are not afraid to speak out. They wouldn't agree with MAGA or anything like that. I chat with them all the time. They're pro reparations. They're more based, but they're a very small minority. And you're absolutely right. But the truth of it is most Black people are ignorant to these discussions. I don't mean that disrespect. Most people are, and they don't know what's happening. But you see people waking up in Chicago in very small pockets when they have to live with this, and they're like, wait, what is it? There was a story in New York, and I don't want to get too graphic, that there are so many illegal alien migrants out there that they can't keep the porta potties clean. They're literally relieving themselves on the doorsteps of typical Black stairs and stairways. And now these are people who aren't really politically active. And now they're seeing it. Now they're waking up. I don't think they're going to leave the Democratic Party, but we're seeing the start of a process where they're starting to wake up. But you're absolutely right, Ray. I mean, it's easy to see that they're I think they're actually trying to replace the vote. And I think part of it was during the pandemic, some Black people didn't do what they were told to do. And I think that kind of accelerated things, like we need to replace these people.
Yeah, because it'll get to a point where they won't even cater to the Black people anymore because we're going to be such a minority.
But they're not catering to you guys now. I mean, if you look at it, if you look at what was promised in the last election and look at what's going on, if you take into consideration what Obama did for the Black community during his presidency, it was it was just about nothing. He did more for the gay community than he did for the black community, and Biden is doing more for the Hispanic community than he is the black community. So you guys are literally getting nothing, and you guys are voting, to Osiris's point, 94%. I think Obama got 98% of the black vote or something like that, right? I mean,
I was part of it.
I mean, you know, at what point do we say, you know what, guys, this isn't working for us. These guys are not for us. And as a Hispanic, listen, I think that let's play the game. Let's say that there is systemic racism. I don't believe in it, but let's just say there is. Don't you think, as Americans, the black community should get something before any illegal immigrant, regardless of whether they're Hispanic or not? Because I sure do.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. You can go first, Osiris.
Oh, absolutely. I know what you mean. Like, if you're just doing that hypothetically, of course. And I think this is a missed opportunity for people who are on the populist right or MAGA to really dig into that from that angle. Saying, you're Americans. We are for making America great again. So people look at it from the standpoint of, here, these people are waking up, like I just said. But I think it should be more of like a reaching out. You are Americans. I know you think that this group here is racist. That's fine. Believe whatever you want to believe. But let me tell you, we are upset about what's happening to you all. Instead of just posting, black people who are pro-Trump or whatever, you can do it from that angle too. What do you think, Ray?
Yeah, and just quick thought. When I said like I'm catered to black people, I mean like I'm promising they're going to be doing stuff, like saying we're going to be helping you out and all this kind of stuff. They're not going to be doing that anymore because the Hispanic population is going to skyrocket so much. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get into our last horseman of the anti-American movement. Let's see.
Brittany herself said this: just being able to hear my national anthem, see my flag, I definitely want to stand. Now, everybody that will not stand or not come out, I totally support them 100%. That's our right as an American in this great country. I appreciate everything a little bit more, all of the small moments. Now, Brittany, do you understand those individuals that people like you refer to as white supremacists? Can you imagine how they felt when they received the coffins with their children who did not get to just be in a prison for 10 months, but were killed in foreign land so that you could bitch and you could moan on a basketball court? So yeah, I'm glad you had the experience. I'm glad you went to prison. And I'm glad that you are alive. But I wish you had the courage to challenge the other people instead of saying, I support their decision, making them understand what you so obviously understand now about the freedoms that this country allows for us. Brittany.
Yeah, and it's funny that Brittany Griner being in the WNBA. The funny thing is, like, the NBA pays all the WNBA's bills. So yeah.
Well,
Candace Owens.
So in this video, I couldn't find video of Brittany actually kneeling, but obviously so let's lay it out for the audience, right? Brittany kneels, same way with the other three clowns that we showed, showing the level of disrespect, and for the same reasons, right? The oppression, black people, yada yada yada, right? And so what happens is Brittany is in Russia. Brittany plays basketball in Russia. And during, I guess, one of her times there, the Russian police arrest her and for having possession of, I think it's some vape that was laced with cannabis.
No, it wasn't. It was like an oil.
Cannabis oil. So to them, that's an illegal substance. After being detained and being sentenced and processed, they gave her 9 years. The current clown administration in the White House was able to negotiate her the Brittany's release, and now apparently Brittany has a change of heart. Apparently Brittany is now standing at the national anthem and has made a complete turnaround. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, is that according to a statement that I heard from Brittany, is that the anthem hits differently now. Oh, so you got a taste of what actual oppression was. You got a taste of what actual injustice was. And now you're here, and now you see the difference between the BS that's being spewed here and actual oppression and actual injustice. Go ahead, Ray. Take it away.
I take it she learned her lesson then. But guess what? What she got, even though it's just a taste of it. It's nothing compared to as far as what else could happen. But she should be lucky that she just only got like 9 years and just for just bringing this in. And then somehow the administration, or the fake administration, I should say, managed to get her out. And like she should also be glad that they chose to get her out instead of a Marine that's literally prison over there. So yeah, but that's a subject for another day. But yeah, like now that she's back here, she's finally realizing, maybe America isn't as bad as I thought it was. So maybe I should at least start trying to respect it a little more than usual. So now I should stand for the national anthem. I should probably keep my mouth shut when it comes to politics, and especially racial politics now. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that I didn't know that she had this somewhat of a turnaround here. I welcome her with open arms. I know we're probably not going to be in the same place politically, but to see her with a more respectable take on things that doesn't sound robotic or tied into somebody else based on what you just said, Carlos, I welcome her. And I think that's how we can kind of hopefully change things. I mean, if somebody is open to changing their position, and they don't have to agree, but they have what I think is authentic, and we just have to decide. There's no magic, checklist to see if somebody's authentic or not. If they feel authentic to me, I welcome them with an open heart. All I need is authenticity. I don't need you to agree with me. I just need you to be real with me, and for us to have a real conversation. I think we can right this ship as long as we've got people together, even if they're identitarians, all that kind of stuff. If they're real people that have real conversations. Ray and I, we talk with people on the left, for example, Jen Perlman, Peter Hager, and we talk about all different type of things with different people. They're real people, and we can have good conversations. So I welcome you.
Yeah. So based on some of the things that I've heard, or I should say, Brittany. Brittany has an Adam's apple. I see an Adam's apple on Brittany, so I can't call that person a she. I'm still in questions about Michelle, but anyhow. So Brittany apparently is standing, and the person feels that it's not within their right to tell somebody. But to Candace's point, Brittany should be advocating, say, listen, guys, we got a little bit mixed up here. You just don't know how good we have it here. But that person chose not to. But at least that person corrected their own ways and their own errors. And I hope that the change of heart is genuine.